Everyone, please rise for the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Yes. Right here. Waiting for the go ahead. There we go. You're gonna flash the red light when it's time to. All right. The chair comments. The board met in executive session prior to the meeting to discuss litigation, personnel, and what's the third one? Land preservation. So next on the agenda is the employee service awards. We're going to start with Officer Rich Michie. If you'd like to stand, come on up front. I'm going to stand and read, and then we'll do our pictures and all that kind of fun stuff. New Britain Township, Bucks County, Pennsylvania. In appreciation and recognition of C. Rich Michie, 30 years of public service, March 9th, 2022. Loyalty and commitment form the basis of any successful relationship, whether it be family or business. We feel that New Britain Township is loyal and committed to making our township the best it can be, and you are a significant part of that commitment. Thank you for 30 years of dedicated service to our residents and taxpayers. Signed this day by the New Britain Township Board of Supervisors. Thank you very much. We get to do photos. Come on.
All of us?
All of us. This is what we do. Sir. What we do with pictures? No.
Shawn to be curious, figuring out, I'm in the picture, I'll get out of the way.
Nobody wants his face in your picture.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks again.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thanks so much.
All right. I'm going to go back up and read the next one.
It's a pleasure.
Thanks.
Thanks.
All right, Shawn Maguire, if you would step forward. New Britain Township, Bucks County, Pennsylvania, in appreciation and recognition of Shawn Maguire for 10 years of public service, March 5th, 2022. The loyalty and commitment form the basis of any successful relationship, whether it be family or business. We feel that the New Britain Township is loyal and committed to making our township the best it can be, and you are a significant part of that commitment. Thank you for 10 years of dedicated service to our residents and taxpayers. Signed this day, the New Britain Township Board of Supervisors. Pomp and circumstance, as it were.
Oh, this is Chief's phone.
You can take the picture, Michael. We have one more to go. All right, and last but certainly not least, Michael Walsh. New Britain Township, Bucks County, Pennsylvania, in appreciation and recognition of Michael Walsh for 5 years of public service, March 17th, 2022. Again, loyalty and commitment form the basis of any successful relationship, whether it be family or business. We feel that the New Britain Township is loyal and committed to making our township the best it can be, and you are a significant part of that commitment. Thank you for 5 years of dedicated service to our residents and taxpayers. Signed this day, the New Britain Township Board of Supervisors. Has it been 5 years, Michael, that you had an interview and you were sweating nervously in front of Eileen and I?
Yep, absolutely.
Some ways it probably feels like 10.
I was gonna say, I can't believe you all kept me around for 5. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you. Thank you.
Meeting. I can never figure out if I'm smiling or I look like a hyena of some sort.
You grow the beard more, people will never know.
Yeah. All right. Okay, so at this time, we have public comment. This is public comment intended to reflect any item that the public would like to discuss, or if they'd like to talk about an action item. However, we will also have a period during which we discuss each action item where there will also be public comment. So is there public comment? If you would please stand and give your name and address.
Yes, sure. Yeah, my name is Wendy Bingaman. My address is 110 Keller Road, Shawn, PA. And I would like to address the township supervisors and the township management with regard to the Keller Road Bridge.
Okay.
Go ahead. Okay, I have lived on Keller Road for 27 years. Keller Road obviously is up in the northern, more rural end of New Britain Township, lovely area. There is a steel grid bridge, which I'm sure everybody is familiar with. I believe it was replaced in 1996. The bridge over the past several years has really deteriorated. And there's a lot of the rock gabions underneath the bridge have completely washed away. The undercarriage of the bridge is quite rusted. There's erosion around the concrete barriers. So I started communicating with the township in October of 2020, specifically about the clanging. It's a steel grid bridge, and so it has steel grids. So the noise from the bridge is quite noticeable. I live about 150, 200 yards from the bridge. I can hear the clanging with every car that goes by. I can hear it in my house 24 hours a day. I hear the clanging from the bridge. So I alerted the township to the status of the bridge. And I believe about a year ago, in February and March of 2021, there were discussions at these township meetings about having Gilmore and Associates look at the bridge and do an engineering assessment. At that point in time, Gilmore came back and gave a recommendation to repair or replace the bridge. And they specifically indicated that the bridge needed to have a weight limit posted on it. It did not have a weight limit, and there wasn't a speed limit on either side of the bridge. So those two things were accomplished. There was a weight limit put on the bridge, and there was a speed limit. The speed limit is 5 miles an hour. My personal opinion is traffic does not go 5 miles an hour over that bridge, but I recognize that local traffic rarely goes the speed limit these days, so I understand. But when heavier trucks and traffic do not go the speed limit, that exacerbates the sound from the bridge. I equate it to a gun going off or a cannon. I'm trying not to exaggerate. I consider myself a sane person, but to be honest with you, the noise from the bridge is really getting untenable. It's not really the right word. So I've had discussions and exchanged emails with Michael, many. Recently, Mary Beth, you have been kind enough to communicate with me. I've sent you guys, I crawl underneath the bridge, I take pictures of the bridge. I'm like, guys, help me out here. The bridge really looks bad. when you drive over the bridge with a car, you don't see visually what the undercarriage of the bridge looks like. The storm on September 1st did not help. There's trees that wash down the little creek that are right underneath the undercarriage of the bridge, indicating that the flood water from that September 1st 150-year flood was right underneath the bridge. So I've been trying to communicate, believe me, I haven't had a lot of issues that I've had to work with the township on, so I may not be approaching it in the most professional way, but I'm really stuck. And I know Michael has shared with me, there have been discussions over the past year. I believe the situation is to repair or replace the bridge is quite expensive, maybe up to $1 million. The township does not have the money for the bridge. And this is what I wanted to have this two-way dialogue with the township this evening to really understand what the situation is. I understand it's low priority, not on your radar screen. 4 residents live on the road. Most of the traffic is through traffic. I didn't see any indication that any type of money was put in the budget for 2022 for the bridge. And my sense is because the bridge is expensive and low priority, I'm questioning whether the bridge is ever going to get fixed. So I may not have all the background information. All I do know is that since March of last year, there's been nothing published in any township meetings with regard to the bridge, any updates. I did file a PA right to know request. Michael kindly got me the information I wanted. I have copies of the Gilmore reports, which indicate the structural issues with the bridge. Gilmore made a clear recommendation to replace the I-beams on the bridge within 6 months. That was last February, about a year ago, they made that recommendation, and I don't see that anything has happened. So I would just like to have an open discussion with the township. You know, what are the options with the bridge? I know Public Works has tried to do as much as they can do, have the capability to do. They put a steel plate in, but the underlying issue is the grids on the bridge are loose, they're rusting, they're eroding. And my other neighbors hear the sound, but they also recognize, I believe, that the township does not have the resource or the money to do anything with the bridge. So I'm just hoping you can be open with me. Unfortunately, I can't escape. I can't, I live there. So, and now I'm at the point where when I see traffic coming, I'm just kind of, okay, how loud is the noise going to be? So I recognize it may not be a safety issue, but to me, it's a quality of life issue. And just my concern is, you know, I understand if the township doesn't have the money to repair or replace the bridge, what options are there? Can the bridge be restricted to residents, eliminate through traffic? Can the bridge be shut till at some point in time that funds have become available? I was out there maybe 2 weeks ago when Ryan was there on the phone with FEMA. Maybe the township has taken actions to approach FEMA about funds to repair the bridge. I don't know. But what I don't see is anything coming from the township in terms of what the facts are with the bridge. And so I'm hoping this evening you can share with me any additional information you have.
Matt, Craig, I mean,
I don't think there's anything additional that you don't already have. We have that same report and that's what we are using. I just want to communicate to you that we know about this and we want, this is it. We have 2 bridges / culverts. The one that was washed out for Ida on Walters Road.
Okay.
We talked about that and focus. That was the part of our focus at the last meeting. And so we have a really good idea of our path forward for that one.
Mm-hmm.
Now that we have a path forward, we're turning our attention to Keller Road.
Okay.
I've been talking to the chief of police and about that we meet on a weekly basis. Is our process in establishing good protocol for municipal operations. Traffic requests are going through the police department.
Okay.
We need to examine what it would be, all of our options. I know we've discussed with you closing the bridge. I think some of your emails actually say just close the bridge.
Right,
If that's the case, what would that do for the logistical concerns of fire EMS, school district, trash trucks? So that in order for me to make a recommendation to the board of what I would say would be the best course of action, I need to do some more due diligence through the police department to see what that effect would be if we just close it.
okay,
So I just want to, I'm saying that to say we are working on this. And I appreciate you coming out tonight. I
Okay.
think that it's really good.
okay.
It's complicated.
I understand,
It's,
I understand.
and like the records that I've found and looking into it, it was an issue even before the bridge was replaced,
Okay,
right? It was an old timber bridge
Yes.
previously.
yeah,
And then, as a former transportation planner,
okay,
me,
okay.
it goes beyond the bridge. That road is a mess too.
It is a mess, I agree.
And like, so it's like, I'm out there trying to visualize it. and
Yeah.
Coming up with solutions, and
Yeah,
the road fits the bridge, fits the road, right? I mean, it's,
yeah,
you're doing this thing and
You're
you're going,
right.
and so it compounds into a much larger
I
discussion
agree.
as well.
I agree.
And I just want to just make sure that you know that it's on our radar. We are
Okay.
moving towards it. I really appreciate your patience. I know
Okay.
it's been a long haul.
Okay, I understand, and I know you just came on board and you
Yep.
kind of inherited this mess. I mean, I can tell you, my husband and I, Bill, have raised 2 children there. And we're in Central Bucks School District. And the school buses always picked up our children on Upper Stump Road, Upper Stump and Keller Road, or King Road. School buses never came down Keller Road, and even today, there are no school-age children that live on Keller Road. Now, Central Bucks, I think there's two school buses in the morning and 2 school buses in the evening that go down Keller Road. It's a shortcut.
I was gonna say, I'm sorry, I was gonna ask you about it. I live down the road and I see buses. in the
Yeah.
morning. So they're just cutting through.
It's a cut through.
That's what.
Because I was that, like, the day
Yeah.
that I picked to go down there,
Yeah.
wouldn't you know it? Here comes a bus the other way.
Yeah, I
Oh
see.
my God. Really?
Yeah.
This is how it's.
So,
So,
I mean, but you won't see children on the bus.
yeah, it was an empty bus.
There's no
Yeah.
kids on the bus, and so I think before I may have called the township, I don't remember. But I go, no, we don't have control over the bus routes. That you gotta talk to the school district. And the other thing, which is a little bit of idiosyncrasy, is the bridge on King Road has a weight limit of 7 tons. And the bridge on Keller Road has a weight limit of 27 tons. And so that almost forces heavier truck traffic that want to pass through there to come down Keller Road.
Yep.
Which to me is, now I just, I take it face value that the engineers at Gilmore and Associates, they did the load and structural assessment for the bridge. But I'm like 27 tons. How can you have them saying you need to replace the I-beams in 6 months and the weight limit on the bridge is 27 tons? I mean, you could drive a Boeing 707 through there. So, I mean, I fully appreciate your comments. I agree with you 100%. Emergency vehicles, fire trucks, they absolutely have to find a way to get a residence on either side of the bridge. I get that. There's farmers who, in Hilltown Township, who come down Keller Road, that farm, they probably lease the land from the township. They get their tractors across the bridge. That doesn't bother me because that's a seasonal thing. And it's a trade-off to me to have those lovely planted fields in our township. But, there's just a lot of through traffic. There's a lot of truck traffic. And it's just, the condition of the bridge is not going to get better. It's not going to get better. It's going to get worse.
In thinking things through, there's 3 options. 1, replace.
Yeah.
I think I would not recommend that at all.
Okay.
There's 30 vehicle trips per day on Keller Road.
Mhm.
Doesn't warrant a.
Did you, I think the police actually,
That was
you did you guys
based
did
on.
come down and you did,
Yep,
is that what it is? 30, only 30 cars a day?
30 per day,
What?
30 per day, average annual daily traffic, 30. It does not, I could not sleep at night to recommend to this board
Okay,
to
okay,
spend upwards of over $1 million on such a low volume, on such a low volume road. Option two,
but to the contrary.
option two would be to repair it. Do as
Yeah.
many repairs as possible to keep it functioning.
Right,
Option three, close it.
right.
And close it to vehicular traffic, but keep it open to pedestrian traffic. And so my question to you, as a resident of that area, is that something that you would be in support of?
I would,
And
it
how
would
would,
be, it would be longer for me to go down to Doylestown. But the trade-off would be, it would be quiet.
so that's what we're exploring, right?
Okay,
In order for us to get into a position of making a decision,
yeah,
we need at least a month, maybe two, to get that data,
okay,
to then look at those, explore those three options, or like two options, repair versus close,
yeah,
and come up with a really good idea for this board to entertain
okay,
and take action on.
okay,
That would give me guidance as to, is the path forward. It would alleviate the stress in your lives. You
Yeah.
kind of know what's happening. So
Okay.
again, appreciate your patience throughout.
no,
all
no,
of this.
thank you so much. I mean, I understand. I know you just came on board and there was a huge number of hundreds, if not thousands of issues within the township. So I do really appreciate the time everyone has spent on it.
The fact that you came out tonight shows us it's important to you. So thank you.
Okay, yeah,
I think
and
it's
I-
important.
Thank you.
Yep.
That's all I can say. Okay, thank you very much. And I do want to thank, I don't know, I had one incident where a kid came through and put graffiti on the bridge and I called the township and I think the police came almost immediately and cleaned it up. So I do want to say thank you, whoever came and cleaned it up. Maybe it was Ryan.
Public Works came out, and cleaned it up.
Yeah, okay, but I mean, it just, Public Works has been great. I mean, I know there's, like you said, Keller Road, you feel like you're on a tractor. Right, and they have tried to do work on the gullies on the side of the road by putting large rocks in there to prevent erosion. So I recognize they tried to do what they could do within the limitations and the status of the entire road. So, thank you. All right, thank you,
Thank you very
everybody, for
much.
listening.
No problem. Thank
I just
you.
want to clarify, our report doesn't say replace IVs in 6 months.
Could you say that again?
It doesn't, you said that within 6 months that the I-beam should be replaced or repaired.
Yeah,
It just says it's a
that was in the
priority.
Gilmore report.
I'm reading it.
It says high priority.
It says high priority,
And then it says up top above that, it says within 6 months.
Okay,
but it says repair too. It doesn't mean replace. Just they can make repairs.
I'll take a review.
Okay, I just want to clarify.
I mean, touche. I'll take a repair so I don't hear it. But, okay, so I understand. I mean, the whole context of the Gilmore report was repair or replace.
It's not the I-beams are making noise, it's the grates that Public Works try to fix that are rattling.
Yeah.
My structural guy went back out and said it's making noise, and
Yeah.
I understand, but there's nothing structurally, well, obviously it should keep getting repaired,
Understand.
but there's still support under it, it's come loose, but that's where the noise is coming from. That's separate from the I-beam.
Yeah, I mean, the last, one more comment and then I'll stop. I mean, there is another little bridge on Gaiman Road over in Plumstead Township, but I just shared pictures with Mary Beth and Michael and Ryan, and they had a wood plank bridge, and it was repaired in between 2012 and 2014 with a metal grid bridge. But what they did, which I noticed, is 5-ton weight limit, but they had bolts between the grids to secure the grids together. So I just shared that, only saying, okay, maybe is that a possibility in terms of repair? I don't know whether the grids on this bridge are too far gone to be able to bolt the grids together to secure them. I mean, Ryan and I were on the top of the bridge when he was calling FEMA, and a car went over, and that we were like, the whole thing shook, right? I mean, it's just, there's a lot of vibration, and maybe, I know that's the way steel grid bridges are. I've gone pretty much nutty over this bridge. I mean, I'm reading articles about the San Francisco Bay Bridge and the noises coming from that bridge, different issue. But I mean, steel grid bridges are notorious for noise. So it's not a big surprise that this bridge has it. So, okay, thank you for listening, everybody. Really appreciate it. It's a lovely road. The underside of the bridge is not too pretty, but hopefully we can find a good compromise.
Thank you.
All right,
Okay,
thank you very
thank
much.
you very much.
Have a good evening.
All right, you too.
Is there any other public comment?
No.
No? All right. Well, we're going to move on to the action items then at this time. All right, at this time, I am looking for a motion to approve the minutes of the February 28th, 2022 business meeting and the March 7th, 2022 workshop meeting of the New Britain Township Board of Supervisors.
So moved.
Is there a second? All right, I have a first and a second. Is there any comments or adjustments to the minutes? Seeing none, all those in favor of passing, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carried. Next time on the agenda, gotta get my papers in order here. For a motion to approve the schedule of bills dated March 2nd, 2022, March 11th, March 2022, March 11th, 2022 medical reimbursements, and March 15th, 2022 in the amount of $301,841.33, and to authorize the township manager to pay all bills as per the attachment.
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second, please? Somebody first and second.
I'll second. I was ready to bill.
Are there any comments or questions regarding the bills? All right, I have a first and second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Next on the agenda is the motion to approve the consent agenda dated March 21st, 2022. Matt, if you would.
I'm going to defer to Assistant Manager Michael Walsh on this one.
Okey-doke.
No problem, Matt. Thank you. I just let you know, the board did approve at their last business meeting, all the development documents, memorandum of development, everything for this project that you approved a number of years ago. They've put in all their financial security for the project. It's ready to move forward, and the record plan is on site for you to sign after today's meeting, so that we can send that back over to Gilmore to be recorded.
All right, so is there a motion? Is
I'll make that motion.
there a second?
Second.
All right, all those in favor? Well, actually, no, is there any comments or questions for Michael? Let's see none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carried. In fact, I did that backwards. Sorry about that.
So the plans are actually on the table outside of my office. And so if you could just swing by and sign away.
Very good. All right, I am now looking for a motion to adopt resolution 2022-06, budget amendment fund transfers per the attachments.
Motion to approve resolution 2022-06.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, I have a first and a second. Matt?
Thank you. So this has been past practice. We did not do this in 2021. Last time we did it, I believe, was in 2020. As a good financial practice to continue to look at our cash fund balances in each of our operating funds and transfer some of those funds inside of each fund, capital F, from short-term to long-term. So this is just basically an administrative exercise moving from kind of, if you envision it, moving from your checking account to your savings account in both the general fund and Parks and Recreation.
All right. So I have a first and a second. Are there any other comments or questions for Matt?
Just one question. So they're going from an unassigned account to an unassigned account.
This is, if we look at, so this is outside of the budget. And so this is the monies that are left over in our cash fund balances. How much do we have in our bank account? And coming up with a good amount that we should keep in our fund. And then in excess of that, transfer a chunk of that into a long-term savings account. So we're not changing funds. It's not being allocated to anything. It's just going into a long-term savings fund. Back in the day, remember when we were able to generate revenue from interest. Remember those days? This is a really good technique to take money from your checking account into a long-term savings, because you could play the arbitrage game and you could actually generate revenue from interest. It's not the case anymore.
What we've done previous years is we've looked at key revenue sources, primarily earned income tax, and also the resale of homes, both new and old. And depending on how they worked out budget-wise, if we're way over budget-wise, and we met our net income for the year,
Yeah,
we
projection.
would, our projections for the total net income, we would then transfer those excess funds out of there and into our general reserve.
Any other questions? I have a first and a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carried. I'm now looking for a motion from the board to adopt resolution 2022-07, 409 West Butler Avenue preliminary / final approval per the attachment.
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, I have a first and a second. Shawn, I'll turn it over to you, please.
Very well. So as the board is aware, thank you. We entered into a stipulation to resolve litigation with the developer in this matter. Pardon me. And before you in your packet, you have resolution 2022-07. This resolution has been prepared and it's been reviewed. Comments were taken from the township engineer, obviously, from the township fire marshal. Comment was taken from the planning commission, and all incorporated into this resolution. Everybody signed off on it for approval. Let me just walk you through the individual components of it, because I know we've been through this up and down this road before, and it bears airing out to make sure everybody knows what we're getting into or what we're signing here. The applicant shall comply with all recommendations of Gilmore and Associates and their review letter dated November 19th, 2022, unless herein modified. Of course, that's attached to the resolution. Applicant shall comply with all recommendations of the Bucks County Planning Commission review letter dated January the 18th, 2022, except with regard to the comment number 3. A true and correct copy of that letter is also attached. Applicant shall comply with all recommendations of the New Britain Township Fire Marshal review. That letter dated January the 11th, 2022, unless therein modified. The applicant shall comply with the sentiment stipulation and agreement noted previously in the resolution, which was approved by the order of President Judge Wallace H. Bateman Jr. of the Bucks County Court of Common Pleas on October the 21st, 2021. If applicable, the applicant shall provide natural resource protection easements across the property in accordance with the New Britain Township zoning ordinance. The applicant shall construct all public improvements shown on the plan at its sole cost and expense, including but not limited to water and sewer facilities, stormwater facilities, street trees, roadway widening, installation of curbs and sidewalks, and roadway milling and overlay, or to the extent said improvements are referenced in the settlement stipulation agreement. Although otherwise noted in the settlement stipulation agreement, the applicant shall contribute to the township the sum of $185,000 as a fee in lieu of the required park and recreation improvements, with the understanding that 50% of that total sum, or $92,500, shall be payable upon recording of the final land development plan, and the balance of $92,500 is payable to the township upon issuance of the first occupancy permit for either building which is planned to be constructed on the property. The applicant shall execute a required stormwater management agreement in a form approved by my office, the township solicitor. Applicant shall pay the required stormwater fee of $1,522.50, or $2.50 per linear foot of existing and proposed roads within development, contemporaneously with the execution of the development agreements. The applicant shall pay stormwater BMP maintenance guarantee fee applied to all proposed BMPs installed within the township for the time of installation, proper construction, and continued maintenance of such facilities by the owner of the subject property. The fee is 5% of the construction costs of all BMPs proposed as part of the project, with a minimum fee of $100, but not to exceed $10,000. That fee will be determined by the township engineer's office once the applicant's opinion of probable cost is reviewed and approved by the township. The applicant shall obtain all required approvals from the various agencies having jurisdiction over the project, including but not limited to DEP, including an NPDES permit, DEP sewage facilities maintenance module, Bucks County Health Department, Bucks County Conservation District, ENS permit, and the Bucks County Department of Transportation highway occupancy permit. Prior to recording final plans, if applicable, the applicant shall submit any condominium documents in a form approved by the township solicitor. Applicant shall submit to the township engineer for review all necessary legal descriptions and construction cost estimates of the site improvements. Applicant shall execute development and financial security agreements and all other development documents, including all necessary guarantees, agreements, easements, deeds, and declarations, all in a form and a manner to be approved by the township solicitor. The applicant shall post sufficient financial security in a form acceptable to the township. The applicant shall provide proof of sufficient insurance to cover the township. Applicant shall execute all deeds of dedication, legal descriptions of rights of way, access easement descriptions, lot descriptions, notes, etc., all in a form and matter to be approved by the township solicitor. Descriptions for those areas of land specified on the plans for dedication to the township shall be submitted to the township engineer in a form suitable to the engineer. These deeds shall be accompanied by title insurance to the benefit of the township, indicating that title to these areas is free and clear of all liens, encumbrances, and restrictions that could adversely affect the use of these dedicated roadways for other purposes. Applicant shall pay all appropriate fees applicable to the project, including all outstanding bills from the township's professional consultants. All documentation should be executed prior to the recording plans. Applicant and its professionals shall execute, notarize, and seal the final record plan. Applicant shall comply with all other applicable township, county, state, and federal rules, regulations, codes, ordinances, statutes, except to the extent any township rules, regulations, or codes or ordinances are modified in accordance with the terms of the settlement stipulation and agreement. The plans and the project shall all be ADA compliant. A screen shall be constructed as an evergreen screen planted between the rear of the property and the adjoining residential properties, which said evergreen screen shall be the subject to the approval of the township engineer. Applicant shall provide a plan showing the off-site stormwater improvements proposed to be constructed by the applicant, which shall meet the approval of the township engineer. No trees should be removed to facilitate construction of the trail to the rear of the property behind the parking lot unless otherwise approved by the township engineer. If the township receives any complaints regarding lighting or sound after construction is completed, the applicant shall adjust any lighting or buffering as recommended by the township engineer. Those constitute the primary conditions in the resolution. I thought it needed to be read publicly because, as I said, we had a number of back and forths on this, and it's certainly good to have that all out so everybody knows exactly what the board is voting on. But this has been vetted by my office, by the engineer's office, and also comments received by the other bodies I previously mentioned. So we are recommending adoption of this resolution.
I was gonna say, I don't have any comments or questions, but I do want to just check in with Craig real quick. We all,
Yeah, we're ready to go. In fact, there was a site meeting last week I could not attend. Look at the off-site stormwater improvements that were discussed, which I think will help some of the neighbors. So we're already moving forward. They're working in good faith on that. So it's a formality at this point, and we reviewed and approved all the conditions that Shawn mentioned tonight.
everything, as seeing as I was not at the previous meeting for various reasons, I'm sure that all of the written requests for waivers that have been granted meet everything that was agreed upon.
Yes, and stipulation.
Very
And we
good.
should be receiving, if we, I don't know, I haven't seen one yet, Matt, we should be receiving a letter from council for county builders accepting the conditions as I've just read them. I don't know if I've seen that yet, but I would expect it shortly.
Shawn, I have it.
I thought you might. I was hoping that, I expected Kelly to be here, but I thought you might have it, so.
All right,
There's your
very
cue.
good. All right, so we have a first and a second. Are there any comments or questions other than the ones that I had for our professionals? All right, all those in favor of adopting the resolution, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate it. And this is the letter.
Thank you very much.
This comes from just us agreeing to every condition.
Switch back to my other document stack here. Are we good?
We're good.
We're good. All right.
Thank you all. I
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
All right. Next action item on the agenda is action item F. I'll be looking for a motion to award the 2022-2023 Bucks County Consortium Materials bid per the attachments.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, I have a first and a second. Matt or Michael?
Yeah, I'm gonna turn it over to the consortium bids guru, Assistant Manager Walsh.
Thank you. The board was presented this last week. The bid goes out every year. New Britain Township handles this for the entire Bucks County Consortium. Usually have about 30 to 40 participants every year. This bid is important for us to lock in because it locks down some of our main operating expenses and gives us some stabilization in our costs, which is big with everything going on in the world right now. Laptop went up approximately $7.45 from last year. Will probably only continue to rise with fuel prices. So it's very important that we lock this price in where we're at now and continue to move forward. So the board was provided a memo with a recommendation toward asphalt and stone. We recommend that the board move forward with everything per the attachment.
All right, very good. So I'm making a note because I have a question when we get to Board of Supervisors comments. Are there any questions or comments for Michael? All right, since you know all those in favor of adopting the bid, please signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye, motion carried. As an aside, do I need to date the resolution for county builders or will you guys take care of that?
I will take care of
Okay. Pass that on to you. All right, at this time, I'll be looking for a motion. Oh, sorry. Next on the agenda is item letter G. I don't know why I keep saying number. Looking for a motion to award the sale of 2011 Ford Crown Victoria per the attachments.
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Do I turn this over to the chief?
So I can handle this
Okay,
one.
all right, very good.
So if you remember several months ago, the board passed a resolution enabling township staff to sell municipally owned property so long as it doesn't exceed $2,000 in a single sale. Wouldn't you imagine our surprise when we tried to sell a Crown Victoria, which did not think it was going to be more than 2,000, it exceeded 2,000. So therefore we need board authorization. It has already been publicly bid. We are asking for the board to approve it to the sale of the individual that is listed in your board packet, who is the highest bidder via municipal bid for $2,250.
Do we need to up that level that we can approve you without having to come to board?
Not yet, but the rate of which chief is using things, selling things on municipal bid, we might.
Gotcha. All right, are there any further comments or questions for Matt? All right, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carried. Next item under action items, letter number H. I'll be looking for a motion for the board to approve the township's auditors to perform the federal single audit per the attachments.
So moved.
Second.
Second, all right, I have a first and a second. Mr. West.
Thank you. If you remember, in our last meeting, we discussed the federally mandated angel of death. I mean, the single audit that is required, since in 2020, the township expended in excess of $750,000 in a year of federal money. This was pass-through money from the state for the first leg of the Nishanli Greenway Trail. Therefore, as we've identified, most municipalities use their appointed auditor to perform this task. Given that this is outside of the typical contract for our annual audit, I'm asking the board to authorize an additional expense to engage with the township's appointed auditor to complete the federally mandated single audit.
Are there any comments or questions for Matt?
Do we look,
Okay.
do we have any idea that we may be in this situation again? Or now that we know about it, we'll be able to plan a little better?
It's funny, we didn't know about it, and so all of the federal money that we got through ARPA, we've always internal, we're like, all right, we got to make sure we can't expend more than $750,000 in a year. thinking, hey, we've never done that before, and let's keep it that way. And wouldn't you know it, it was for a past project. Yes, we are. That is in the forefront of our
$749,999, right?
You got it, as much as we can.
All right, I have a first and a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carried. Next action item on the agenda, is letter I, gosh, I'm getting tired. We're looking for a motion to authorize advertisement of ordinance 2022-04-01 per the attachments.
So moved.
Is there a second? All right, first and a second, Mr. West.
So I'm going to kill two birds with one stone. Both motions I and J are going to be the same answer. This is a motion to advertise an ordinance. These are some more housekeeping ordinances. Anytime the state updates their building code, we update our ordinances to be copacetic with them. So you will see this authorizes my office to advertise this, and the board will see this in the April meeting cycle as a way to entertain the motion of adopting the ordinance, which now have to have a public hearing and anything having to do with an ordinance at that.
And you're seeing as two separate motions based on my recommendation, just to keep the record clean. So if there's ever any challenge to the ordinance, we can point back and say there was a specific motion for a specific ordinance.
All right, very good. So again, this is just a motion to advertise 2022-04-01. So I have a first and a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Aye, motion carried. So next I will be looking for a motion to advertise ordinance 2022-04-02, adoption of the 2018 edition IFC.
Motion approved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, I have a first and a second. Any questions?
So just to be clear, the first one was for the International Property Maintenance Code, and the second one is the International Fire Code.
Yep. So I have a first and a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Next item under action items, letter number.
Hey.
Why does letter number, letter K? I'll be looking for a motion to adopt resolution 2022-08, the police department for records dissolution per the attachment.
So moved.
Is there a second?
So this was one thing that the board did not see at the work session meeting, because it popped up since the work session in this meeting, and given that there was an opportunity to become physically lighter by shredding some documents. If you remember, we are bound by the Pennsylvania Municipal Retention Act, Records Retention Act, there it is. It outlines what we can and cannot destroy and time limits of those documents. And so that has been reviewed by the chief and his staff, and he has recommended a dissolution of some records.
All right. So we have a first and a second. Is there any questions or comments for Chief or Matt?
Just was going to ask, are they kept in the same place as the township records, or are they a separately, whole separate thing?
They're kept separate because they fall under different,
This will free up some space for you then?
very little. at this point.
Hey, but hey, celebrate small victories.
We haven't
One
gotten
block
into
at
the
a time.
bulk of the.
Bulk of stuff, okay.
It's the weight by dumpster.
He's using municipal, saving us money, making us money.
Generating some.
All right, I have a first and a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carried. All right, last but not least, action item L.
There you go.
I'll be looking for the board to authorize Kind Like Joy Foundation to hold a 5K special event fundraiser at North Branch Park. To authorize the use of food trucks with a valid certificate of insurance and health inspection certificate per the attachments.
Motion approved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, Matthew.
So, thank you. This also was not talked about in our work session. It came up in the time between the two meetings. Moving forward, I would like the board to be in a position to authorize any non-township related special events in any township property. We met internally as a staff and developed a process for that review and recommendation to the board. We recommend that these applications also go in front of the Parks and Rec Board for their input. And unfortunately, we had the staff meeting at the day after the Parks and Rec Board meeting. And so for this application, and this application only, we did an email only review, forwarded it to the Parks and Rec Board via email and asked for their recommendations, to which they all unanimously support this event. And they make that recommendation to the board as well for your consideration. So staff and Parks and Rec Board recommend this event.
I think it's an awesome thing. So
Yeah. Mhm.
That's great.
Awesome thing for a tragic story.
mhm.
I'm just going to ask, considering that we're starting sports at the moment, how is the 60 days going to work with sporting
So
things?
good question. And so that was one thing that going forward, we're asking for a 60-day review period as well. That will enable us to coordinate with sporting events. And this one, I'm happy to report that there are no conflicts with the sporting events scheduled for that same weekend.
All right, cool. That's a Sunday, right?
Yes.
So most of the sports are all on Saturday mornings. So
Yeah, sure.
most of them.
Yeah, okay.
They only use like soccer over here for intramural, so they do that on Saturday. Anyway,
But they do request the fields
Yes, they
for
do.
Sunday. So it's like, they want those fields to them. So,
Did we pass that yet?
No.
All right, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
aye.
Aye, motion carried. All right. Next item on the agenda is number 6. Information items, Township Manager's report.
Letter number A. So two things that I'd like to talk about this evening and maybe spur some discussion amongst the board. First thing is the 300th anniversary planning. If anyone had a chance to review the proposal that I had forwarded to the board late last week. If you remember, the board had asked me and my staff to explore some costs of what it would take to put on an event. And through our resources inside of our staff, we were able to connect with Uniquely Philadelphia, which is a top-notch event planning organization. They are consummate professionals. Have nothing but mad props to them in their presentation to us, and exudes 115,000% professionalism. Through that conversation with them, they're like, look, it's difficult for us to understand what exactly it is that you want to do. So we need to have some guidance as to what we want to do. Yes, we can help you with management of that thing. But what we recommend is to actually have the first phase to hire us or someone to come in and help you define what it is you want to do. And that was the cost that was forwarded to the board as part of the proposal is phase 1. They said it's difficult for them to know what a cost for phase 2, AKA the event, would be without knowing what the board is interested in pursuing. I liked that approach. I'm confident that they would be able to help us in that guidance. But if you looked at the proposal, it's not cheap.
Yeah.
And it is, it would also not be cheap from an internal staffing standpoint. We don't have the resources to put on an event like this. And I think this put it into context. There aren't many places that do this sort of thing. And so they kind of have a corner in the market, and they did the Popes. They've done all the major events. They did a municipal event. Was it White Marsh? I think it was White Marsh Township. They did a one-day event there also. Huge, just saying. It has the potential to be a very large event.
Did they give you an idea of how much that event cost?
No, because it depends on, that one?
That one cost?
Yes. It was like, I'm thinking 500,000. I mean, it was, I'm not gonna go, a lot of money.
Mhm.
Money that I don't see in our budget.
It depends on if it's in Gilmore's budget.
No.
We can talk.
New Britain's 300th anniversary.
You said $500, right?
So I forwarded that to the board as another way as a way for us to have another conversation, since the 300th anniversary is quickly arriving in less than a year. So what is it that the board wants to do to celebrate 300?
Well, what do they consider the work for phase one? Is it come in for one day, discuss with many different views what we would like for that day? They would go away and say, well, this is what you could do for so much. This is what they could do for so much.
I don't believe it's going to be a one-day effort for phase one. I believe it would be interviews with the board and your expectations of what you want the event to be, identifying what our infrastructure is, looking at the lay of the land. Where could you hold this event? Because we are geographically at a disadvantage. Where are we going to have this event? How are you going, if we have the event here at the centralized North Branch Park, the flagship park, how are you going to get people here? Is it going to be a park and ride busing, have folks park off-site at a large shrine, if there was one in the municipality, you know, maybe a shrine, and get people here using their large parking lots, those sorts of things, exploring those relationships, those options, the logistics of it all. I don't anticipate that that's going to be a one-day exercise. I see this as probably a couple of months exercise. They said now is the time to start this also. We don't have much more time to waste. And so this little this proclamation over here has it as, I looked at it, July. You've actually defined it. June 14th. Whereas on June 14th, 1998, officially recognized its 275th anniversary. On the 4th of July, celebrated on the 4th of July. June 14th is being recognized as the date, capital T, capital D. Reactions, I'm seeing a lot of upset stomach looks like.
Well, I think we're at a point where we have to go ahead with it, and since they're the, in quote, premier of this area that have pulled it off before, as much as I hate to spend $6,000, I think, for phase one, I think it's necessary.
6,500.
No, excuse me. We have 500 from Gilmore over here, so that's fine. But anyway, I mean, it's necessary. We have to do it if we're going to do anything. In my opinion.
Have we put aside any money for it this year? Nothing. Still grumbling over there.
And this is just phase one
Yeah.
to get us to an idea. And then phase two,
So when we hit all the solicitors, engineers,
and they
anybody else,
They
and
don't
so
do
they
that
don't
part.
do the sponsoring. They will manage sponsorships.
that's why I said that's when we hit.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
And they don't know what that total cost will be. So it's an investment, $6,500 to get us to that point where you might say, oh my goodness, this is big, scope creep.
Well, I mean, I know, and this goes back to where most of your people were around, used to a huge 4th of July celebration up at the shrine. And we probably had a good 8,000 people up there. And that was, it initially was, we would do the parade in the morning, and then we do the fireworks and everything up at the shrine that night. That, of course, became a 24-hour day in reality. But that expanded to the point where it basically went from the parade almost an hour later. They were opening up the stage up there, and you had music and everything else, and the bouncy rides and everything. And then the fireworks went off around 8:30 or 9. I don't know whether the shrine has the capability up there anymore. I mean, we can get in touch with them. I know but they used to have huge field areas we could do for the fireworks. That would be logistically the right place to do it.
And that's what phase one will identify.
Right.
We'll have those conversations with what's up, what options are out there. What are our options? Where should it be? Where can it be? Who's willing to coordinate with us, the township?
So they'll do all that legwork
Yes.
and they'll work out how much all of these things would cost, getting porta potties for
They
a
will-
day,
they will-
doing all those individual things. So they
They
will
will-
come with a proposal and say, if you want to put on a day, this is how much it's going to
This is
cost.
what you need and this is how much it's
Yeah.
gonna cost.
They will develop a proposed plan for an event to include infrastructure, where, how,
Mhm.
entertainment, interactive elements,
Yeah.
food and beverage plan, operating budget for the event, and
Mhm.
timeline for event from conception to completion. They run it soup to nuts.
Without knowing a budget, sorry, without knowing a budget for that,
Mhm.
No, we do know the budget for this. $6,500
plan.
to get us to that.
no, they'll, like entertainment, what's my budget? All those things, because,
No, I
Like,
didn't go out
do they-
and give
do they
them a
give you a
budget.
menu?
I mean, yeah,
Like, do they give you a
Yeah.
menu of like, you know, if you want a band, it's this much, if you want.
Well,
A
no, we have to-
DJ.
I think we have to go out and solicit that, don't we?
Part of what they're gonna do is
Make
work with
suggestions.
us to decide what we want for each
Yeah.
one of those things,
Right.
right? Mhm.
Which honestly, while we are entertaining emotion, no, I'm sorry, we're entertaining the idea of hiring a consultant, it will still take staff time. Even if we go this route, managing third parties take staff time. I don't have much staff time to dedicate to this event. That's the reality of it. That means something will have to be given up in our day-to-day.
But
We are
will
already
that
beyond
amount of staff time be less than what it would be if we did it
Oh,
ourselves?
gosh, yes, it would be less. But
So-
it will still, it's not gonna be silver bullet, great, hire a third-party consultant, and they're gonna run it super. It's still gonna take interaction, interfacing with staff. Management of also.
Matt, has anybody in the staff, has the staff ever taken something on like this before?
None of this
Not
stuff.
this-
Oh,
not
no.
this scale, no.
So then there's also the issue of starting from scratch and sort of learning on the curve versus hiring somebody who knows what to do right out of the box.
Yeah, we did this for over 10 years before, but that was years ago,
Oh, my goodness, it's been
15 years. before.
at least, it's been more than that since we've had fireworks at the shrine.
That's right.
Fireworks at the shrine predate 2000. I mean, I'm going back to the late 90s. Mid to late 90s, the last time there were fireworks at the shrine.
So is it worth $6,500 to find out?
That we can't afford $100,000 day.
But if, yeah, that's the question. But is it $6,500 as well that our staff don't have to work out? Or do we just say we're gonna nix it completely? The 300? Because it sounds like we don't have staff time to even think about what we can do for next year. So,
Well, I don't think it's the staff that has to come up with that. It has to be us as the supervisors have to decide what we want.
no, but it's their time to plan it and everything. So that's the thing. It's like, do they have enough time in their days to actually, if we say we would like to do this, to then execute it?
It's difficult to plan for something that's not budgeted. I have no expectation of what the board is interested in allocating to this sort of event. And that's the big unknown. We can say, okay, $6,500, that might be a worthwhile investment, but what's it gonna cost? And that's gonna be a big pill to swallow at the end, because it's not gonna be cheap. Things are not cheap these days, and this won't be cheap.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and most firework companies are probably already booked solid for July 4th. So who are you gonna get to do a
It
firework?
doesn't have to be July 4th. I mean, we don't have to do it that particular
No, we
day.
don't have to, but
In fact, I wouldn't want to do it July 4th. Our police staff would then be getting paid triple time, plus holiday pay.
in the
Sorry.
grand scheme of things, there are more important things to be invested in.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and the one thing that we want to try to do, and that was one of our problems in doing the shrine. our police staff and our EMS people and the fire, police and all that were involved in it. We never did really get any participation from Doylestown Township, Doylestown Borough, and yet those particular areas got the benefit of this huge event going on. So I would want to see, hopefully, us get some cooperation for police from those municipalities. So that's just my.
I feel like this is something, just based on the discussions that we're having tonight, that we're not prepared to quite move forward with hiring a company like this yet, that we need to flesh out maybe at our next work session. What more specifically what we want to do, and then decide if it's worth it to hire this company to explore that, because we could very well find out that this is what we want and it's going to cost 3 times as much as we can afford to do, and then we've just spent $6,500 to figure out if we can do nothing.
To be honest, I mean, it's almost, this is almost a situation where we have the July 4th parade. We have everyone coming back here already. We just should double down on the July 4th festivities and just do it all here. And at 6 o'clock, we're done. You know, we don't, you know, that's it. You know, we, instead of everybody coming back for a hot dog and a hamburger and a piece of pizza or a hoagie, you know, we have music and, you know, there's activities in the fields, and it's just, you know, it's the parade and the 300th celebration, and that's it.
But then you still have to think, how are you going to get those people here? If we're really going to do it.
Well, everybody comes back here already after the parade.
But that's really just the
Yeah,
participants.
for participants, right.
But
Well,
not-
there'd have to be a transition where the roads are reopened and, but
Where
right,
they gonna
so,
park?
so what I'm saying is like, we don't have $100,000 to do this. Right, to do it the right way.
$250,000, yes, yeah,
Yeah, we don't,
yes. It's
I'm
in
not
our
even,
budget.
we're not even going to $250,000. We don't have $100,000 to do this. So, you
You're
know,
gonna spend 10% on a consultant for your budget of 50,000. That's
right, exactly. So, I don't even know what there is to flesh out. It's either we take an event that we already have and make it bigger and better. And that's,
Manage that.
I said,
Yeah.
we need to look at other options for somebody to manage that. I don't know. I respect that this company has done premier events. I don't know that a premier event is what we're looking for. So maybe we need to look at someone on a smaller scale.
Because I don't think our staff could even make our 4th of July parade even better.
right.
Yeah, there's
So
no-
there's
no time for
there's no
them to
time.
dedicate
Yeah,
to
there's
it.
no doubt about, no offense to the staff, but there's no,
No,
there's,
they do not.
there's-
They have other
There's-
things to
there's no
focus on.
bandwidth for that whatsoever. Now, I mean, I would argue that I think this company would probably be able to integrate what we're talking about into our normal events a little more seamlessly than a small. The issue you get with a small is they don't have as many contacts out there. They don't necessarily think is big to help reduce
Have any other
costs.
local townships done anything like this?
Warrington did, but they
Who did they use?
spent like $250,000 or more on their event. So, you know,
Doylestown do it, but they did lots of little ones. They did smaller events during the day,
Bush.
during the year.
yeah, but if you do $5,000-$10,000 events, you're still.
So
then-
I was hoping that this would be help guide the conversation a little more, to give me a little more clarity on coming up with something, but I'm hearing things all over the place still, and I'm not feeling confident that this is getting us to a point of a decision. And
Well,
that gives me agita.
Well, then why don't we say, you've given us something to think about for 2 weeks, come back at the work session and say, each person come up and say, well, what do you see as the 300th anniversary? What do you realistically
I've said it
see?
before, the 300th anniversary to me seems like the 30th high school reunion. Nobody goes to it. They go to the 10, the 25, and the 50. They skip the 30. So why are we?
I don't think it's the right
Why are we
answer
spending
either,
so much
but-
money on it? No, seriously, like what are we spending
Ignoring it doesn't
taxpayers'
work.
money on this huge event? I don't know.
Could we celebrate it in a different way? Could we
That's
give
what we need
each
to-
resident a tree?
But we've
I mean-
tried to do that in all the meetings that we had, and everybody, it was so scattered even in those meetings. I sat through 6 or 7 300 committee meetings, and it was all over the place.
275.
No, 300.
Yeah.
We've had meetings. Michael can attest to it.
Yeah.
It's all over the place, and it all costs lots of money. Everybody's ideas cost money.
So
And
Craig's
a, and
basically
a
saying,
level,
He doesn't want to do anything.
he doesn't want to do anything.
I'm not saying I don't want to do anything. I want to incorporate it into something we already do.
Well, then
But
bring
that's
that
still
to
gonna
the next
cost
thing.
Money.
Yeah.
I mean,
It
it's gonna
is,
cost
right.
Something,
Yeah. But it's easier to piggyback
Yeah.
than to
No,
just
I'm-
reinvent
right?
new. So,
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
I want you to think about how much money you want to allocate to it. That would help
Yeah.
guide the conversation.
That's,
Bill's saying nothing about money, and I'm stunned. Normally, he's the budget hawk.
floundering because you don't know the
I'm holding my
budget.
tongue
Yeah.
right now.
Matt would flounder this year if you didn't approve the budget for last year, why you spent 3 months doing it. You can't operate, look, the PSATs, Bill's been there, Greg, you've been, yeah, that's right. You wouldn't believe, there's 3 of us that meet every quarter or every month for the last 6 months. That went real seamlessly, what, 3 years ago. You should see how, I mean, you don't want to know how much we spend, but we get a budget and I have to make sure, oh, now the food. Okay, let's cut down the food from 4 to 7, from 5 to 7, and that's it. Then entertainment, and it's entertainment, the food, but just something like that, you're over $30,000-$40,000 for one night for our clients.
In
And
one
and we
location
meet
where
every
most
month,
people
3
move
of
to
us
it.
to make executive decisions on the budget we're given by Mr. Gilmore. And he says, here it is, don't go past it. And I gotta go past it and I can't. And it's like a wedding. I mean, it's just like Shawn said, a wedding, but if you don't have a budget to start, okay, between 50 and 75 or 75 to 100, I don't know how you, that's why you're foundering, because you know, I don't think I was even here for the fireworks, so it must have been mid-90s.
Yeah.
It was mid.
I feel like it was 95, 96,
It
because
was.
Yeah,
I
right.
I feel like the fire marshal put the butts on it.
As soon as we came to the area, they went bye-bye.
So-
There we go.
Is it worth, based on just Craig's comment, is it worth all of you thinking about, rather than thinking, hey, what do I want the township to do for the 300th? Why don't we think about, hey, what do I want the township to spend for the 300th? Because once you know what you want to spend, it's easy enough for the staff or anybody else to figure out, okay, here's what we can do for that amount of money.
Mhm.
But that's gonna be more, I think that's gonna be more creative and get you closer to the point of what you're actually gonna do than throwing out ideas and then going to try and find out what they cost.
Soup to nuts, minus sponsorships, what does the 4th of July parade cost us? Michael, best guess?
I'm not fully involved in the planning of that. I could do some research and you could. I can
That
have
would
some
be a
information
basis.
At the next meeting.
Yeah.
We'll get that this week.
So big client that I have has Warminster Day. Now, again, they have a park and rec
client's that?
director. What?
Which client is that?
Which,
Firsthand.
they do something like, but there's big townships have a park and rec director that does everything that Matt doesn't have that staff to do. However, early on, they hit all the businesses up. And I don't know how much, but I know how much we give and the solicitor gives, and I see all the businesses, the Acme's, the Giant, all the grocery stores and everybody donates and all that. You're probably talking 50,000 easy on some of these. I don't know what a lot of the townships do it, but they have a whole day at their park and they do, whatever, Northampton Day, Warminster Day. But they hit the businesses up too, and then they know what they have, and then they supplement it with whatever. But that's something you should be doing right now, like kind of getting commitments for that. Can you, can someone through your connections like you guys do, but this local businesses as well that, we like to contribute to it. If you don't get very much, then okay, but you
Well, the
do
bag
that.
bingo letters just went out, so.
So I can piggyback on what Shawn said. I agree with you. But I agree with Shawn. I think we have to have, I've always thought we need a number to start with.
Oh, no, I agree with that. Then that's on
Then-
top of
then
that. No, I agree.
I get agita, to Matt's point, this year we budgeted for these events, so there's money to start with. Normally I'm going, I need to raise this money or I can't even hold this event. So
Yeah, not that,
I'm
no.
stressing out over just getting sponsors. So it's, I like the idea of, here's your pool of money. That we can then go out and pound the pavement for money afterward. Anything we get is,
That's what I'm sorry. That's
Yeah,
what
I think that's what
That's
Craig
what
is
I meant.
saying. Yeah.
That's one that then they figure out, what kind of shirts they're printing and well, what other, they give goodie bags to everybody. What are the kids gonna get versus, but that's kind of set then later. You have to plan the event with a budget and then whatever extra you raise is, you add to it then.
How much did we just put into?
500,000 and 100,000 to park and rec special. I mean, I'm willing to go 50,000 if we add it on to July 4th. I think that should allow us to get adequate additional rides, events.
Extra overtime for the police and our public works and all that. That is part of the price.
Yep.
That is a huge cost that we have never put into the budget of July 4th, Fall Fest. That's not in there. So that has to be included.
Would Fall Fest be more of a? So in terms of the planning of it, you brought up the point, people are coming, they're not coming back here. It's the parade participants and the people that live local that come back.
Yeah.
The roads are closed. The Fall Festival may be a more appropriate time to have the 300th because you are planning to bring people in. Roads aren't closed. You're already having an event here. So I'm just throwing darts right now. So just don't take anything as gospel.
I agree that we could do it on the fall festival weekend. But then we still have a minor problem, which is where we're gonna park the cars if we're getting a good turnout.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to bus them.
Yeah.
Where from? Who's driving the bus?
Well, you have to hire somebody. Well, that's why you hire a planner that
Event plan.
a real event planner. I mean, no offense to like a small event planner, but I don't know.
You hire an event planner with experience of events that size.
Right.
Small or large doesn't matter if they have experience planning
Right.
events that size.
We need the wedding planner. Because they would deal with everything that if you've got an event, you've got to bring people in, you've got all these moving parts. So, yeah, it's all about scale.
To be continued.
Yes.
The one issue, and I think you brought it up a couple times that you need to keep in mind with your price is if everyone we're dealing with or everyone you're asking to plan this is a novice at this, one of the things that the logistics are where those contractors, where those specialists make their money, because they're the ones that think of what nobody here. We've all thrown out good ideas, but there's something that we missed that we're not even thinking of that some other professional knows, like, oh no, you got to do this. I mean, if you're putting enough heads together on the problem, you're going to solve that. But there's, whoever's going to be doing it has to keep an eye on what they don't know.
Well, then I would say then that if we're not going to automatically go with this company, which if you read their bid, the money that we're putting into that 6,500 actually
A portion
of it goes to the actual day of event planning. So if we're going to try to find other companies that are maybe local, a little smaller, they need to still have the same breadth of expertise. Like he states, you don't pinch when it's going to cost you at the end. Make sure that the breadth of expertise covers all possible logistical challenges. And if they planned for the Pope.
It was
That budget
difficult
was a little high.
difficult to find anyone that was interested, that didn't do like wedding type stuff. This is a unique thing. And so it was difficult to find someone who could do this, that would have that skill. And so they say that if you have anybody in mind, fine, send them our way so we can identify, so we can connect with them, but
Well,
here is an option.
you're saying that Warminster does it? Who do
Yeah, but
they?
they have,
They have a
all the big
full-time
townships down there have someone that has experience in,
They have
coordinating.
experience, but they still must use somebody to help with the planning and scheduling.
Yeah, I was gonna ask around, I was gonna ask
I have
for
an idea of
marketing.
something I can-
A couple people in marketing came from other companies might have,
No, and with professional connections, I'm sure like there's probably a checklist, right? That they use like, hey, we need this and this and this. That's something that through connections, somebody, Matt or Craig or somebody could get for you somewhere from somebody who already does it. As you like, that wouldn't necessarily need to be a professional. If they're already doing it, I'm sure they have documented somewhere what it requires. Though.
trying to think of.
Yeah, but we just don't want to dump it on our staff. Like, we
No,
can't,
you
we
can't.
can't dump it on
No,
our
you-
staff. We don't
Oh,
have
no,
a
I
staff
see
to.
just smaller events. It's-
Our staff may quit if we dump this on them. Walk out the door.
Michael won't make it to 10.
Yeah.
But I do, no, I was gonna make a planning joke. There is a planner on staff, but I'll ask some of our larger townships too, like the Horsham Townships and others. I see what else.
See how they tackle it.
Yeah.
All right,
Thank
to be
you.
continued in 2 weeks.
All right, wait, there's more.
Yay.
Home property. So, I just wanted to quickly say that I met with most of the board at the site of the Coleman property last week to put eyes on it from a pedestrian scale. And I'm encouraging the board to take this up at the work session meeting to talk in more detail about the pros and cons of different scenarios there as well. So that's all I have. That concludes my report. Sorry, I didn't mean to get the 300 committee going for half an hour, but
Yeah, no worries.
it's important and it needs, from a staff standpoint, we need guidance and we need a decision sooner rather than later. Also, as it relates to the 300 committee. I believe it needs to start here at the board, give us some guidance that we can then communicate to the 300 committee. That then, if y'all, I've heard conflicting things about the committee, that it's not really a committee, but it is a committee. If you want to memorialize that committee, that would be the time to do it as well. Thank you. Nothing further.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions for Matt? Departmental reports. Want us to just read what we got?
Do you have any questions?
Yeah.
I'm here to answer any questions.
They were included in the board packet.
Any questions for the chief since he's here? All right, well, you know what? We'll do the solicitor's report and the engineer's report first. Go ahead, solicitor's report.
Thank you. Given the amount of time we've already spent in the meeting discussing different issues and the updates I've already given you in executive session regarding some pending litigation matters, I'll just point out that Mr. Gordon and I did take a tour of the township with Matt West this past Thursday. We saw the Coleman property. We saw the bridge that we discussed tonight. I was in the car when the school bus forced us to the side of the road. So Jeff and I both got eyes on a couple of the different spots in the township that we're currently discussing on different projects. That was a nice way to sort of get a lay of the land here. As you know, Matt and the staff have been meeting with Kay Weeder from my office to update the employment manual for the township. That's moving along, and Kay has some of her work cut out for her there, but she's certainly ready, willing, and able to dig into it and get that done for the township. So that's also looking positive. That's really all I have by way of a report for now, apart from what we've already discussed in executive session.
Very good. I'm gonna piggyback on that real quick. Our previous solicitor provided us a monthly report towards the end of each month. He never really kept it up to date. So, but I think the board, and this goes for the engineer as well, would like to see a monthly report from both of you, updating us as to items going on in the township.
I've actually already begun constructing that, and my plan would be to push it out administratively through the staff around the first of every month, so you have it as an update
Prior to the work session.
prior to the work session. That's
Prior
right.
to the work session.
And I already have mine ready to go. for, I guess, the end of the month, so you have it for your first meeting every month, which was gonna leave me, I was gonna bring this up.
Engineers report?
Well, then would you, in other townships, we don't have it then for this meeting. However, there's an update or any other, something instead of saying report, but it'll be on the, I was gonna ask you one on the first. And then I still would update you on land development or anything, bigger stuff.
From my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, oral reports here during this meeting.
Yeah.
And the written report before the.
Okay.
The work session
Yep.
following.
So the update I have is I had a engineers meeting with High Point engineers and developer to go over a review letter. They're coming to tomorrow night's planning commission meeting. They'll be requesting, originally submitted only preliminary. And the reason I'm bringing this up tonight is their schedule has changed. They are under the gun to get going now. And
Who just dropped their pen? Was that?
there's a whole backstory that probably some of you know more than I do, but Mr. Morrissey apologized. He goes, yeah, all of a sudden now we're ready to go. We want to start demo this summer. Everybody pulled out. They're going to request preliminary final. I don't have a problem with it. I'm going to let you know up front because it's already been fully engineered. You're going to see exactly the same plan, except more trees and more trees and more trees, to the point where we spent a half hour talking about we can't plant all the trees. And there were some issues with the ball fields and stuff because we really didn't give them a lot of direction. The conditional use adjudication just kind of kept it really general. And they had some cut and fill problems. They're trying to dump a lot of fill. And today I said, no, you can't dump it all in the open space. They were building big mounds and stuff. And to be honest with you, the engineer just did some options for the developer. Mr. Morrissey said, look, if we got to remove it all, it's very costly to remove fill, which leads me, if you guys need any fill or anything or know of any projects, they have a ton of it. It's quite costly to remove it. So I was supposed to bring that up to you guys. And topsoil as well. They have just, and I'm trying to figure out, I guess that's why it's called High Point, but the balance that site, they are just.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Trust me, I know.
Yeah. I knew it was an issue from day one, but now that they're done with all the grades and everything, it's still an issue. But you'll see the letter, I guess you'll see this in April. Planning Commission approves it tomorrow night. I have no issue with preliminary final. They actually want to start demo. Everybody's pulled out all the programs. Mr. Morrissey's getting calls left and right about, closing up shop and everything. And
It's interesting you say that though, because there's activities there every weekend.
yeah, he's got a lot of phone calls to make. He wants to.
So I'm not quite sure who's still using the
They're not
building
in
if the
it. I mean,
club is
they're not.
closed.
There's pressure being put from, I guess, the owner. And
Yeah.
you guys know more of the connections than I do. I recommended if they get through planning commission tomorrow night, you guys will see it on April. Same thing as you just tonight, you'll see it and then do a resolution. I believe the schedule, had them look it up, was they do a presentation on April 4th at your next meeting. And then consideration for resolution, the 18th, I think. I was going to talk about, I think the schedule Ryan sent out, they read that to me. They read me Ryan's email in the meeting. I said I'd go over the schedule. But they will request preliminary final. I'm not sure they're going to get it from you guys. I don't see any planning issues, so that's a separate, lot of technical stuff. But things have changed. So I recommended a meeting with Randy and the township staff. Once they get approval on demolition and all the logistics of that, I think everybody should be included. I mentioned that should be here, just to talk about how they want to phase it, what Randy will approve from the fire, and just the demolition alone. They thought that was a good idea to do kind of a constructability meeting, building meeting with all that way Matt knows where they're coming from, and then Randy can, hey, you can't do this without that. The demo alone is 2 months, they said, but they want to start this summer.
I noticed on the plans that they put that there was I thought they were going to extend the footpath all the way to schoolhouse, but it's not on the plan.
There was a bunch, to be honest with you. Janine was on vacation this week, so we went through every comment, which I was not anticipating at 9:30 on a Monday morning. They're going to come in and say we'll comply, but there's some things that we got to work out. That was one thing. There's a bunch of locations where they did tie in. They thought that they were there was some confusion between the engineer and developer, what property, where they didn't want to go off-site, so to speak. I said, no, I don't think you are. You're bringing up schoolhouse connection?
Yeah, I thought they had said that they were going, because the footpath literally stops at their
Oh, you're talking the trail, not sidewalk?
sidewalk, trail, same thing.
No, not.
No, there's,
Yeah.
Well, but I mean, it's the, what they show as a walking trail that goes around the
Okay.
stormwater thing, and then it just goes to the end of their thing, and I thought they were going to extend it to
Okay.
schoolhouse.
And that's stuff you can bring up, you know, when that's what that's all about on the 4th, to bring up stuff that I don't think we missed anything. We made a lot of general comments because there's so many technical comments.
Yeah, I have a fence all of a sudden. I didn't have a fence before.
Yeah, the fences that came up today, and the developer said, why we have this fence there? I go, we all looked at each other. Is that existing? Everybody's like, no, it's proposed. Fence is going away. That was a
Okay,
mistake.
okay.
The engineer, developer looked at the engineer. I'm like, I don't think there's a requirement for a fence. There's heavy landscaping.
Yeah, there's a berm and
Yeah.
landscaping, yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, the fence got.
I don't want a fence again. They put a fence up to begin with and then never maintained it, so.
And there's some comments before everybody, there's some comments here about impervious coverage. I've raised some big issues about there's zoning impervious and stormwater impervious. When you take out right of ways and easements and all that, there's total impervious for the whole site, and how you calculate per zoning versus stormwater. The stormwater includes the roads, existing roads, off-site impervious. So I question why the impervious was so high. They went through all that today. I kind of forgot about the roads that exist, High Point, Horizon, they're all existing, but it's still within their site. So we went through it. I see the plan's identical. They haven't changed anything. The engineer kind of skipped over the conditional use. That's what they were upset about, the developer and attorney. He kind of went to the technical part of the review and the ordinances, but kind of skipped the conditional use. So
Why?
I don't know. I got calls behind the scenes that they were absolutely, just upset about how far along the plans were when they got our letter. So I don't say more right now. There's miscommunication on who was supposed to go through the adjudication and start checking off. So, but yeah, now we went through the entire letter. I don't see any changes to the plan. Well, there'll be additions where trail connections. There's other connections for sidewalk. They'll have to change the grading, the open space in the middle. Again, they start berming that up and doing swales. And I just teed off on about that was, you testified the flat green open area with a lot of landscaping. And so they're going to take everything. You'll still see a different plan tomorrow night, planning commission. They're going to render it up. The colored rendering will be different than what I reviewed to show that they.
Yeah,
they're
unless they
going
want
back.
sledding hills in the middle of their townhome.
No, it's supposed to be active usage areas.
Yeah.
That's what was the whole point.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, they got the message, and Mr. Morrissey gave them direction to go back to what was testified to in the conditional use plan. So I was a little disappointed they did call me on that and just say, hey, is it okay if we present it this way? So I also didn't realize how much removing soil from sites are costing now. They just don't want to do it.
yeah, well, that's why I'm getting a berm now, because they needed to put that soil somewhere.
Can we dump it all down at Cotton Park with that level out?
Well,
like?
okay, so I
Yeah.
brought that up. They really will work with you. In fact, their Foxling's pretty good. I think you got comfortable with them through zoning and conditional use. They're willing to work with you on stuff like that. If you have a spot to put anything, I was thinking over, your cell tower where there's a dump. I don't know if there's to level off anything or the parking lots or anywhere where you want to reconstruct anything. They have a ton of it. They said, just let us know. They're going to start contacting other developers to see.
The
It's
problem
that
is if
much.
we start building up Cotton Park, you're gonna have to go up a hill just to get to it.
Yeah, I didn't think Cotton Park would be one, but I didn't know if across the street or if, Matt or Mike or Ryan know of any other places you guys want filled.
Is there any low areas here in North Branch we need?
I didn't think so.
No.
Yeah, so anyway, so that's gonna be, you'll see that in April. I told the developer, reach out to you directly about the schedule to confirm when you want them on.
Yep.
They still got to go through sewage approval, MPDS permit approval. So, but once they lock into the final approval, then that starts the clock on everything, logistical with demolition.
Do they have to do get any PennDOT approvals for traffic counts and signalization or anything?
No, it's all
That's
us.
just all us, right? All right.
So that's all I have.
Any comments?
No.
Board of Supervisors comments?
No. Quiet today. You've got something
Yes, I do.
written it.
Yes, I did.
It's burning.
So, something that Michael brought up, he brought up about the Bucks County Consortium materials bid. So, my question is kind of has a little bit to do about our meeting structure, as it were. And this is to the board and to Matt. If we have items that need to be addressed or could be addressed in a timely manner, like a materials bid, do we always have to wait for a business meeting to have an action item? I mean, when we first talked about restructuring the meetings, we talked about having the ability to have action items at the work session.
It's typically, the way I like to look at it, if it's a must-have, a need to have, thou shalt not wait.
Right.
And yeah, we always have the opportunity to add an action item onto any agenda. But in the interest of public disclosure, I like the precedent to have to establish the expectation at that first meeting, no action. Therefore, if you start changing it and start adding action items when people are expecting that the first meeting is informational only, it doesn't go over well. I think we could get away with one meeting a month, quite frankly. Oftentimes, I feel like we're trying to make things longer than they could be.
Okay.
But just saying,
Anyone else? Nothing? Okay.
I always have that option, and that's, we have, anytime anything comes up that doesn't hit that month meeting cycle, we say, okay, is this something that is a must-have that will mess up anything if we wait that next month? If yes, then yeah, we'll put it on the agenda. Those things aren't really that frequent.
There's a lot of townships that stayed with 1 month, one meeting a month. Most of our, even our large clients, they advertise them all, and each meeting, like tonight, if you're gonna cancel the next one and skip the 4th and go right to the 18th, you would make that any objections to canceling that meeting, and then they vote to cancel that meeting at the prior meeting.
But then nothing gets a chance to breathe because you're having a work session and an action item meeting. At
Well,
the
that
same
would, then you
time.
have to change, how that structure is.
So,
That would mean an update to the meeting structure.
I got, Matt, I thought, it does get, now you're in the grind of every 2 weeks. It's a lot there's a lot. Like, I wish I had Keller Road stuff here so I could talk more. I'm not prepared. That's not a public comment. That was and I know you guys want to go back and forth. There's other stuff going, but
no, she needed to have her opportunity.
and that was good. She thought,
So-
no problem. I'm just saying, if it's one meeting, then I can sit there and I know all the hot projects. I quickly review that. I'm sure Shawn does it too. I have to do an engineer's report anyway now, which is kind of gets me up to speed and everything to make sure. And then you have 1 month and you can really, then I can, it's a little easier. Every 2 weeks, I almost like tonight, I didn't even do my packet because it's all motions, but I don't know what you guys are gonna do, what you're gonna ask. And I was prepared last meeting to go over all of it, but in this meeting, I'm like, okay, I didn't know. You guys start peppering me with questions that Shawn went through, like, I don't want you, and I don't know. And that's 2 meetings I have to prepare and bill the developer for. But you'd have to change the structure then to go to one.
I'm not.
Why don't you ask your vast audience that I've been this for the last couple months of it.
It could definitely be done with one.
Yeah.
I mean, if your comfort level is 2, I see why, and as you said, it lets things breathe sometimes, but you could still let things breathe over 1 also by simply, you could table matters and let them breathe for a month and then come back to them. I mean, as Matt said, you could change your meeting structure, but you could easily do the business of the township in 1 meeting.
I've felt that since I came back full time, that you guys are trying to just have me. I know there used to be more people here, and maybe because you're online now, I don't know, but it doesn't seem like there's how many people online now?
Oh,
none?
me.
How many is that? I knew that answer.
So you can say whatever you want.
I can see how many people
No.
viewed it later.
Yes,
Too.
it goes onto YouTube, so.
Yeah, the engineer messed up. But yeah, I
Further discussion, I suppose. I mean, I don't know.
Just looking at the length of this meeting and tacking on another, I don't know how much to it. I don't know.
To be honest with you, you won't talk. I would, yeah, it's the exact opposite. I mean, it's like this. What do you mean? It's like this.
Except for the public.
Yeah, but you just don't, and when you do, it's usually a land development project. Outside of that, you don't have people show up.
And if you have that, you
And if you
use one of the meetings that's on the agenda that you were gonna cancel.
well, that's where we have more dialogue. What can wait to the next month? Yeah. And you don't overload one and you say it is what it is. And that's where he makes that call.
And most of our land development plans sign a waiver of land development time clock. So we can schedule it whenever, within reason. We're gonna, it's gonna be next year.
Yeah.
But if that means delay it a month because this next month's agenda is already full, I'm not gonna put another thing on there. That's my job to manage that agenda so it doesn't get too
Like
big.
High Point said, I don't need to come to 2. You guys already seen this 3 times and it's identical. We'll go to whichever one the township wants. I said, well, I'll defer that to Matt. Once you get through planning commission. So most developers, as long as they know, they're fine because, they have night meetings they have to coordinate too. And sometimes they get rotated because the attorney can't show up or the developer has another, whatever. It's done in all the other townships now. There's a little bit more coordination, but it does give the staff time to breathe a little bit. We don't have to be, literally, you got 1 week and then you're back out already, looking at what's got to be done. And you're a little more concise.
Geez, I go from asking about fast tracking certain items and everybody else now that everyone's
Yeah,
like,
but now you're
one
gonna
meeting a
get,
month.
well, now you're gonna get your action items though, because you obviously have, so you have it broken down a little bit different. It doesn't mean you gotta rush anything. That's what Matt's also, slow down a little bit on it. Just breathe and listen to the project, throw out those questions. And then the next meeting, that helps us. It does help me when you guys have that presentation and I don't have to really make a decision on the fly. Now there's a resolution. I like this setup better. And we all get to look at it. They look at it.
Instead of discussing it during the meeting,
And
we
trying
actually
to-
take it home, digest it,
Right.
then we go.
I think that's a good change. Brendan, yours reports, solicitor report in writing then, so you can answer questions instead of, I try to find what, okay, what's next to talk about. I mean, I just say, you have any questions in other townships? And they say, yeah, I have a question on this, this, and this. And you're not gonna go through your whole report. Chief doesn't anymore. I know he liked to before. He's much more concise
The
now.
short answer to your original question is the consortium bid was written in a way that the price is locked and we have the whole month of March.
Right, exactly.
So it
So-
wasn't a necessarily need.
But I was just, it brought up the idea of, we all
Yes,
like,
of efficiency, do we need to have things like that at 2 meetings?
right, there's been instances where the chief has brought something and you're going to approve it the next meeting, but I'm going to do it in a week because I need to do it in a week, even though you're not approving it until 2 weeks. So why wouldn't we just approve it at that meeting? That's what I was kind of talking about. So, but anywho, is there anything else?
Motion to cancel.
Yeah. I would say, oh, Lord, that one.
Okay,
That seems like the third round. I'm staying away from that one.
You're gonna be outvoted on that
I didn't talk about it, canceling a meeting.
one. No, I mean, you seem to want it. Everybody else wants to go. Let's go.
But so just 1 meeting a month?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm fine with that. If you guys want to go to 1 meeting a month, I'm fine with it.
Strike while the iron's hot.
Want to add it to
Don't
the
need it.
agenda?
For future conversation.
Oh, there's a different explanation.
Well, she's
Let's
not
think
saying
about it a
yes,
little
and
bit
he's
more.
not saying yes.
Not there
How
yet.
about we discuss this in our next work session?
With
And
an
then we
action
can make-
item at the.
Then we can make an action item at the following meeting. How's that?
Okay, before we motion to adjourn, I would like to make the following announcement. The next meeting of the Board of Supervisors of New Britain Township will take place on Monday, April 4th, 2022 at 7 p.m. here at the Township Building. Agenda and meeting materials will be posted on the Township's website prior to the meeting date at newbrittaintownship.org. Also, a video copy of this meeting will be available on the Township's YouTube page within the next 24 to 36 hours. After all of that, I will now take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Is there a second? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
All right.
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you all.